Joining me now is Lowell Kamin. He is the CEO of Lodestar Battery Metals. Great to see you.
Great to be here, Mark. Really appreciate the time and think you and Red Cloud do a great job representing companies and clients. So
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right, so your company used to be Silverton. You've changed the name, and your focus now is lithium in Snow Lake. So give us some of the reasons behind the pivot.
Yeah, so just to use two kind of like colloquial terms, narrative and unpack. So unpacking the Silverton, first of all, I was brought in to restructure the company. And, when you restructure a company, you basically need to change everything. So I remember back in the CNR, when I was involved in CNR and Paul Tellier took over, and he basically got rid of 17 senior vice presidents. So I got rid of everybody except kind of one person, and looked around the marketplace and tried to think about, what was topical, what was interesting, and where did I want to put my time and attention to. And I'm not saying that the silver assets aren't good, but we needed to rebrand the company, change the company, and we need to maximize the value of the silver assets that we have. And we're definitely going to do that. But along came an opportunity in Snow Lake. Snow Lake has a 100-year mining history. It's in between Thompson and Flin Flon. Thompson, Manitoba is named after, the head of Inco at the time when it got created. And it's got all the infrastructure in place there. And you have two other companies in the area. And I looked at it and I said, oh, well, I can get involved in lithium, which is extraordinarily topical, and something that's needed in order to fulfill the battery metal space. And I can make a difference. And it's in a great location with two other players around and two other people involved. And I was like, okay, well, this is a great way to transition a company, is to maximize the value of what you have, change the name, and focus in a mining district that is extremely friendly to issuers.
What kind of work are you going to be doing through 23?
Well, let's go back and talk about what we did in 2022 first. After we acquired the Penny property, which is just under 10,000 acres, we got involved with, we hired Longford, run by James Rogers, who I'm a huge fan of, and Luke Vandermeer, who's got incredible CV of both working for Robert Friedland and for Andrew Forrest. So I don't know too many people that have worked both for those two people. And so we hired them. We entered into a contract with them in order to go and do some sampling work in Snow Lake on the Penny property. So we went up there in October and we took about 300 samples and we surveyed the area and we got to know the people. We pressed the flesh and really figured out what was going on up there with both the other two companies that are in the area. And so we have 300 samples. We spent 2 weeks boots on the ground, and we have those samples at the lab now, and we're expecting those back either at the end of Q1 or early Q3. But in 2023, thanks to Red Cloud, we have some really attractive flow-through money. And that's going to cover our budget for what we can do on both the Penny property that we bought and on the new staking that we have commencing going on in the area to grow the land package. Because the land package of the other two players is, call it, I think one of them is over 55,000 and the other one's around 45,000, but I haven't done the math to know exactly what the new additions are they've made. And then we'll grow our land package, and then we'll get all our geochemical and our geophysical work done this year with the money that we raised through flow through from you guys, and we'll be in a really good position. Now, if things go really well and I want to go into treasury, then we might get a drill bit on the property this year, but I don't really want to make that part of our capital budget this year. It would be a nice to have. If we can do that happening, but that's probably a 2024 story with the drill bit. And I think the news flow that comes from us and out of the other two players in the area will be sufficient in order for our needs this year.
Right. So, Lowell, you said you want to build out a strong portfolio of assets, basically through development, through acquisitions, through partnership. You've got a background in finance, so can we expect a fair amount of deal activity?
You know, I think right now we're probably pretty happy with where we're at. I mean, you know, I have a big real estate background, grew up in real estate, and, you know, I kind of looked at it like, you know, you need to kind of, I hate to say it, but overpay a little bit to get into an area. And the prices that I'm seeing for things that people are paying for and the announcements that have been coming out in January, I think I got a good deal. And I think once I stake the property, it's kind of like in the real estate business where you've like, you know, developed out the land beside you. And so that everything becomes more valuable. And then you got two other big players in the area who are also making the area play even more valuable. So yeah, no, I think I'm pretty happy with what we got. I'm pretty happy with our land package. Not to say if something interesting didn't come along that I wouldn't put my capital markets hat on and do that. But I think more importantly, we need to focus on what we have, focus on our existing shareholders, focus on delivering of what we can through the flow-through money that we've got this year. We need to preserve the treasury, and we need to focus on be really good capital allocators with what we have in the micro-cap, small-cap space, and gain attention to what we're doing. And like sitting here with you. I mean, it's a huge feather in Lodestar's cap that, you know, we're even being asked to sit here with you guys. I don't think that there's many, you know, small $5 million enterprise value companies that companies like yourself take an interest in. So I view that as a real positive, and I'd like to capitalize on all those things that we've been able to do in 2022 and 2023 for my shareholders.
And I'm sure you've seen in your time, we don't need to get into it, but a lot of $5 million companies that grew up and became a lot bigger. And we can talk about that another time. But you have another asset, Sonora, in Mexico, and you said you want to update the resource there and then maybe sell it. But you definitely, anything at 20 million or under is not enough, right?
Well, I mean, let's, using a term that I'm always hearing now, let's unpack that again and drive the narrative. So, because this is that opportunity to do that with somebody like yourself. So we are up to the resource that Silverton had, which was from Micon, was under 10 million ounces approximately for the Penasco asset, and 2006. So, I mean, I felt it was important to the shareholders with the treasury we had to spend the money not only to maintain the two assets that we've kept in Mexico, but also further understand what's there and have a 2022, 2023 updated resource in order to be able to maximize those assets. And we did some preliminary work before we entered into the bigger agreement with them, and it looks like we're going to get north of 10 million ounces. So, I mean, I don't want to say what silver is going to do, and you know, I'm a gold fan, and you know, I watch the silver to gold ratio, and I'm a commodities geek sometimes. So, you know, I believe at some point here we're going to see a large run in gold and silver. So, just say $20 to $25 on 10 million ounces is $20 to $25 million of value US. Discount that back 10 years and get the value. The more cash I can get, the better. You know, that's really what I'm after doing. I want to focus in Canada and North America, not necessarily in Mexico. At least that's been my general, having 30 years of experience. I'd like to stay within what I understand and know the best, which is, you know, Canada and the US.
Right. Lastly, Lowell, the two other players you're talking about in Snow Lake, Manitoba, naturally, Foremost Lithium, Snow Lake Lithium, you're behind them in terms of development, in terms of market cap, but are you okay being the third player? That's maybe an advantage in a way?
Oh yeah, like I totally want to ride their coattails in the peloton. That's part of the beauty of being in Snow Lake, is that not only do you have it's been around for 100 years, but you have the Osborne mine, you have when you're flying over it, you can see it's just like ripe for development. So yeah, you have the Osborne mine, and you have there's resource, and you know, Snow Lake Lithium, if you follow it in the news, I'm really happy with what's going on in the corporate structure there and the changes there. And I think that, you know, people are going to make a lot of money with Snow Lake Lithium, and foremost lithium. I think that they've got a great land package on the Crow Duck fault line. They've got what they call it their lithium pathway, or their lithium their lithium belt, and they've got like 5 different packages there. They're really great people. They have good people working on their sites. They've developed a really good relationship with people up there. So is Snow Lake Lithium, and I truly believe that having other players in the area, been involved in the mid-90s in Voisey Bay and watching that happen through Deans Knight Capital Management, where I was an investor and watched what Wayne Deans and Doug Knight did in that area and made tons of money doing that. And then I was involved in Fort McMurray before Fort McMurray is what it is today. I mean, like, being the third player is a perfect place to be in the peloton. You get to pick up on what all of them are doing and get all the benefits of their money that they're spending, and you get to spend money behind them in a very positive way.
Well, thank you for telling us about the Lodestar story. We appreciate it, and we'll see you again.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Lowell. Good stuff. Lowell Kamin, CEO of Lodestar Battery Metals.